Today I'm going to take you through the creation of a piece from start to finish using 3 different weights of ink. What you see coming out of the green mug is actually water-based fountain pen ink by Ferris Wheel Press. So I've taken their Misguided Mistletoe and mixed it with 99% isopropyl. And that's going to be the heaviest ink in this piece. You'll also see 2 different brands of alcohol inks that I'm using here, T-Rex and Copic. T-Rex is going to be heavier than Copic, and Copic will be the lightest ink that I use. Using inks of different weights is going to create so much more depth in your pieces. The heavier ones will sink to the back of the composition as you create it, and they'll leave behind a heavier undertone on the piece, which will change the colors of the inks as they go over top. You'll also be able to get thicker rings on the heavier inks and smaller ripples on the lighter inks, so it changes the entire composition as well as the feel of the piece. While you're working with multiple weights of inks, do your best to keep a wet edge, so I always try to keep some of the ink usable here. If you let the edges dry fully, then it'll be harder to move your heavier inks around the page. I mix the different weights in with the isopropyl by using a catalyst wedge, and then I create the different effects with my blow dryer. If you happen to lose your wet edge and fully dry all the inks, no problem, just add isopropyl and mix it in with your catalyst wedge. Just be aware that that is going to lighten the colors, so if you're doing it in the darkest part of the composition, you're going to have to add a lot more ink. If there's a part of the piece that you are unhappy with, you can rework it by adding isopropyl and remixing everything with the catalyst wedge and then adding more ink over top. It's similar to gessoing over something on an acrylic canvas that you can then rework, but be aware that you may leave behind staining if you used any of the heavier inks. I do this with a lot of my pieces just to create layers and depth. Keep the weights of the inks in mind as you start to experiment, so these softer fades are going to come from your lighter inks and the darker, heavier areas from the heavy inks. And there you go. I hope you enjoyed.